Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rachak, Wadash, double honor to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of the great millstone, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and whoever you may be, to you I say, Shalom, Yahshua, Shalom. Probably gonna get something real brief here, because there's actually another lesson I want to get into, and it's gonna be a lot longer than this one, so I want to go ahead and knock this one out first. And just a couple of news clips that I want to play here, and it's the topics that they're talking about that we're going to listen into. Okay, so let me yeah, all right. As a matter of fact, I'll do this. Be helpful. Okay, that's all right. So all the volume is max, so Lord will you can hear. On Donald Trump's first full day back in office, his administration fired the first woman ever to head the U.S. Coast Guard and replaced her with someone who promptly suspended the Coast Guard's hazing and harassment policy because priorities. And if you're reading right there at the bottom of the screen, it says the WAPO, W-A-P-O, Coast Guard no longer classifies swastikas as hate symbols. All right, no longer classifying swastikas as hate symbols. Now it also gets better, but before we move on, let's pull up swastikas real quick. I'm pretty sure we all know what a swastika is. How do you spell it? Swastika. I guess it'll come up. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. All right, the swastika is an ancient symbol originating from the Sanskrit word swastika or swastika, I guess, meaning good fortune or well-being, that has been used by various cultures worldwide for thousands of years. In the Western world, it is overwhelmingly associated with the Nazi Party and the Holocaust, which we knew that, okay? The result of its appropriation by Adolf Hitler and subsequent use as a symbol of racial hatred and anti-Semitism, okay? Because we know the story that Esau has corroborated, especially moving forward from the Renaissance period, all right? What's that, Revelation 20? Okay, he was loose from his prison, and he was, let's get that real quick. Yeah, this thing, it does that from time to time. I don't even hit the button, just Esau be listening. His technology be going haywire. Revelation 20, okay, get a quick scripture. 20 and 6, 20 and 7. Well, let's get 20 and 4. No, 23, excuse me. So it says, I guess we got to just read from, yeah. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. And this is talking about the Edomites, all right? All right, the churches are going off with some, which I guess you could say mythological creature, because the Satan, the devil that they have in mind is some, red man with a red leather suit, red high heel pumps and horns, pitchfork, fire, lava, hellfire, waiting for sinners, okay, to burn them up for eternity. And that's mythological, okay? But now there's a Satan, as in, the angel on the left-hand side. But then there's another Satan, those that come after him, after the working of Satan, like it says in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And it's talking about the Edomites. And this Satan here, this devil here, is talking about the Edomites that fell in Western Rome. And from the Renaissance period moving forward is where they came back out. And we're going to read it down below. And the scripture will finish what I was saying. And cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations. See, the key word right there, deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. And that's where we are now, prophetically. We're in that little season, because Esau is the one in rulership. All right, don't believe it? Pull out your dollar bills or any of your coinage. You got Edomite faces on it. Okay, what is a reserve currency? The dollar bill with Edomite faces on it. Okay, and we'll jump down here and get verse 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, so after the Byzantine Empire, because that's that 1,000 years, they were around for like 1,000 to 1,100 years. So after this time period, Satan, these devils, the Edomites, shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out, there it is twice, to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. Okay, so let's go back over here. Just want to read that real quick. So going back to the swastika, all right. So like I was saying, the the history Esau has corroborated is that they're the real Jews, and then they're going to talk about the Holocaust, okay, and all these things, and then they'll push the 1948 Balfour. Well, they don't really push it, but the 1948 Balfour Declaration is how they got into the state of Israel, okay. And I always point this out: state of Israel. You got the United States, you got the state of Israel, okay. Nowhere in the Bible does it mention a state of Israel, okay. It mentions the kingdom of heaven and our lands. Okay, it maps our lands out, but it doesn't mention our lands in particular as states. Okay, but they're not the people. There's no so many areas you could point out there. So let's just keep going. Ancient origins and positive meanings. The swastika is one of the oldest symbols in human history, with examples found in archaeological digs dating back as far as 10,000 BCE. We know Esau just, don't trust Esau's numbers because he'll tell you 300 million years, all right? But that's not realistic. Okay, but anyways, we'll just read it. It's just to be reading. For as 10,000, far as 10,000 BCE in Europe, in 4000 BCE in the Indus Valley civilization. Across various cultures, it has held positive connotations. Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. I've never heard of that one. The swastika remains a sacred symbol of spirituality, prosperity, and good fortune, commonly used in religious ceremonies on temples and at the entrances of homes. Okay, Native American tribes. The swastika appeared in the art and healing ritual of some tribes, such as the Navajo, where it was called a whirling log and represented abundance and luck. I had to look into that one. I find that one hard to believe, but you never know. Maybe it'll come up. Pre-Christian Europe, the symbol symbolizes. I'm sorry, the symbol sometimes known as the uh, Falfot or Gamadion, I guess. Dion, I don't know how to pronounce those words, was used by Germanic, Celtic, and Greek cultures and appeared in early Christian and Byzantine art. Before the 1930s, the swastika was a popular good luck charm in the Western world, used in advertising by companies like Coca-Cola and Carlsberg, and as an emblem by the Boy Scouts and American military units. Appropriation by the Nazis. In the early 20th century, the swastika was appropriated by far-right nationalist groups in Germany who subscribed to the idea of a superior Aryan race, linking the symbol to an imagined shared ancestry. Adolf Hitler personally designed the Nazi Party's flag, which featured a black 45-degree rotated swastika called the Hakenkreuz, a hooked cross in German, on a white circle and a red background. Okay, so I mean, obviously, if you're familiar with that, you know exactly what it looks like. The red rectangle flag, the white, I believe it's like a white circle, and then you have the swastika on inside that white circle there. Okay, this potent logo became the official national flag of Germany in 1935. Right here. In 1935, hold on. There you go. In 1935, um, and a terrifying symbol of the Nazi regime's ideology, the Holocaust and World War II. All right, which Holocaust goes into like burning with fire or something like that. I forget exactly what it was. All right, Holocaustus, something like that when you break the word down. Anyways, modern perception and legality. As a result of Nazi atrocities, the swastika is now universally regarded as a symbol of hate, fascism, there's a word, fascism, and white supremacy in the West. Public display of the Nazi swastika is prohibited by law in several countries, including Germany. In contrast, it retains its original positive meaning in many parts of Asia. This stark divergence in meaning has led to ongoing discussions and educational efforts to differentiate between the ancient religious symbol and the modern hate symbol. Okay, and give me a second because I got that word that I posted in my clipboard. So give me a second. So fascism is a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology that advocates a dictatorial leader, a single-party state, and the forcible suppression of opposition. It originated in early 20th century Europe, with the most prominent historical examples being Benito Mussolini's Italy and Adolf Hitler's Germany. Core principles and characteristics. While definitions of fascism can vary slightly among scholars, several core characteristics are consistently identified. Extreme nationalism. Fascism prioritizes the nation above all else. Okay, and that's what they would say. You know, it's the blue eyed blonde hair. Okay, pale skin race that was superior. All right, we're going back to that white supremacy, Edomite supremacy, often promoting a myth of national decline and a promise of rebirth, rebirth or regeneration to a supposed former glory. And what does that say in Ecclesiastes? That there's nothing new under the sun. People reincarnate, kingdoms reincarnate, okay? Scenarios reincarnate. Authoritarianism and dictatorship. Power is centralized under a single leader. Example given, Deuce in Italy, Führer in Germany, who is presented as infallible and the sole interpreter of the national will, often fostered through a cult of personality and mass propaganda. And there's more there. We pretty much got the point there. Okay, so you can read to that yourself. Matter of fact, maybe I can do it from here. Oh, actually, no, because we want. I might have to go to the regular Google and just paste it there. Okay, yeah, so we can see if they can whirling log or swastika. Okay, so they're talking about this. You could say yeah, but I mean, so yeah, this is what they were saying about the Native Americans, supposedly, allegedly. But when you're dealing with the northern tribes, all right, see there's another one right there. I'm not sure if it's real because sometimes people just make designs on their own, and it says this. Look at that. Check that out. All right. So we know some of these are definitely fake and just people's own craftsmanship. But as far as it going back to the native tribes, hard to believe. Doesn't mean that it's not true. Like they haven't used the symbol before. You see, because these rings are real, but that doesn't mean that it was real as in the natives used it. So I mean, who knows? And it doesn't really matter, man. Okay, because I mean, like when the northern tribes came over here to the west, they were doing what? Trying to keep the ways, but they were going off. There were all kinds of sacrificing people, cutting out the hearts, and you know broken Hebrew language. So there's a lot of things that they went off on. So like I said, doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean it's not true. But I just want to look into it real quick. So we might need that again. All right, I'll get rid of it. So yeah. So let's go back over here. Um and play some more of this. But yeah, it says the Coast Guard no longer classifies swastikas as hate symbols, okay? And this, it ruffles feathers, all right? That's why we're talking about it.
Now, a new harassment policy has been drafted and is set to take effect in December. But according to the Washington Post, there's a very, very notable revision. In the new policy, swastikas and nooses will no longer be classified as symbols.
There you go. That's why it says it gets better. You hear? Swastikas and nooses, okay, are no longer going to be classified as hate symbols now. Shortly back, not too long, over this last month, okay, man, what's the eldest channel? Man, I'm not good with names. Shoot, and I just watched a video too. Man, I forget. But anyways, where with a couple of brothers too, and I was just mentioning the elder because I remember listening to the video when he did it. But about how Jake has recently, there's been about 2 or 3 cases. Jake is turning up, hung, all right, by nooses, okay. So all of a sudden, you got Jake just turning up. I think even the scripture says, "Cursed is he to hang it from a tree" or something like that. I believe that's in the curses or somewhere. Okay, but yeah, you got Jake popping up, and being hung, okay, in a noose, and they're saying it was self checkout. Okay, no, these things are not self checkout, man. All right, it's not something which it can happen. Okay, like somebody can get up to a high elevated place, and but it's hard to do it now when you find a person. You get the point. I don't have to even break it down and explain it, man. Jake turning up, being hung, okay, and now all of a sudden they're which the swastikas are one thing, because we know the Ish people are not the true people, but it does ruffle feathers because as we mentioned before, You have the Palestinian Israeli situation, and you have those people over there fighting over that land. And that reached American shores because both of those people have people over here in America. So that caused tension and riots and protests about a foreign situation across seas. So either way, it's a ripple effect that ruffles feathers with that. Okay, but then also saying that nooses are not, a hate symbol. Okay,
Of hate. You heard that right. Instead, they'll be downgraded from hate symbols to, quote, potentially divisive symbols, which rather than
potentially divisive symbols. Let's look that up. Excuse me. Excuse me. Potentially divisive symbols. I hate talking to this thing. What means potentially divisive symbol? Yeah, you dumbass. I'll do it myself. Okay, well, let me do it myself. What means potentially divisive symbol? If anything, important comes up. Symbol. Rain harder. Potentially divisive symbol is a term for imagery, flags, or signs that can provoke strong disagreement, offense, or social conflict because of their association with controversial historical events, ideologies, or hate groups. So so then what's the outcome then? Because it's still, after reading that, what's going to be, the outcome of that? You see, the term gained prominence in recent news regarding a U.S. Coast Guard policy draft that initially classified symbols like swastikas, nooses, and the Confederate flag under this label, a move that prompted significant public and political criticism. Critics argued that this terminology weakened the severity of these images by not explicitly calling them hate symbols. Yeah, you see? Because they basically downplayed it, okay? Key aspects of the term's meaning include controversial interpretation, impact on cohesion, subjectivity, okay? Following the backlash, the Coast Guard revised its policy to explicitly ban divisive or hate symbols and flags, including nooses and swastikas, providing clear definition and reinforcing that such symbols are prohibited due to their strong association with oppression, hatred, and bias. All right, so let's go back.
being outright banned can be reported to supervisors with no clear guidance at all for removal. MS Now is not
Let me go back.
of symbols, which, rather than being outright banned, can be reported to supervisors with no clear guidance at all for removal. MS Now is not independently verified that the Post reporting, and DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin had a very classy response when she called the story, quote, fake crap. Good for her. But the language in that published policy is pretty clear. You see, this is an administration that apparently deems swastikas as merely potentially divisive, while at the same time apparently deems displaying a pride flag as an unquestionably fireable.
Now, why didn't she mention the nooses or what swastika? Damn the swastika. Why didn't she mention the nooses instead?
Offense. In October, longtime FBI employee David Maltinsky was allegedly fired by Kash Patel for, quote, an inappropriate display of political signage. That signage was a pride flag next to his desk, which was literally given to him by his former FBI bosses. And yesterday, Maltinsky filed a lawsuit against Patel and the FBI for what he claims was not only an unlawful firing, but one that had a chilling effect for other LGBT employees at the FBI, who now fear they too could lose their jobs and livelihoods if they are open about who they are.
And they, well, no, you wouldn't have to even get into that. You already get that point, okay? That's their fight, all right?
And that is what I would call quite a split screen.
So right as the Thanksgiving travel rush gets underway, the TSA with this...
Yeah, here's the next one. We pumped up the log quick.
Major announcement proposing a new rule to begin as early as January that would require passengers that go through security without a real ID or a valid passport to pay an $18 fee. Remember?
Now, right there it says TSA proposes $18 fee for passengers without passport or real ID. Okay. Now, there was a recent talk about who was it? The Google, the thing, Apple or something like that. Apple Pay, Apple, or I forget all this stuff. Okay, but about what was something about a digital identity. Okay, but anyways, this is not a force, like a forceful force. It's more like a light force, saying that hey, if you don't have this real ID, or maybe they can even say if you don't got a digital ID at some point, you got to pay a fee, which will make people just want to, move into it. So it's not really like a hard push, because some people will pay the $18 or whatever, or they may get tired of paying the $18. So it's more like a light push, okay, into this direction. All right, but they're moving everything forward because they're putting everything they're doing is putting the system into play. Okay, so they gotta do this a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there. All right, because they're building something here. They're building a system. Okay, which we're gonna talk about one of those things. In another one of these. It's someone in the clip somewhere in one of these other lessons I'm going to do. But basically, what they're doing is molding. They're trying to mold everything into an open air prison. That's basically what they're doing. Okay. But we'll talk about that in another time. All right. But yeah, let's keep going.
A real ID is either a state-issued driver's license or another form of government identification that complies with federal security standards. It's usually denoted by a star in the corner of your driver's license. The TSA says this is just the next step in real ID compliance, something that they've been trying to do for decades. This bill was signed.
And they've been talking about this for years, okay? Years. All right. So, it's just gradualism, right? Because that star, I think it supposedly what it is that you can't go into like courthouses or federal buildings and certain other things if you don't have the star on your license. And people have everyday operations that they have to do. So yeah, the star is nothing, but when they keep leveling things up, they start to say, oh, you need this digital and that, so start to push forward digital ID because everything's moving towards the micro CF anyways. Okay, that's why we're mentioning this.
Into law more than 20 years ago. Now, if you don't have one of those real IDs or a valid passport and you go through a security checkpoint just like this one, at some point in the process, you will be pulled aside for additional biometric screening. That's what that $18 fee.
Oh, you already said you will be pulled to the side for additional biometric screening. So your paper or plastic or whatever identification and your face matching it and all the information matching it ain't enough for us to identify who you are. Like, come on, man. But that's just Esau, who's just trying to surveil everybody, okay? And, the airport is a small thing, but at the same time, a lot of people travel by airports. A lot of people get backed up at airports. They don't want to go through some extra stuff like that, okay? So to force them not want to pay the $18 and just go along with it, and as it keeps gradually, they do take it a step more, they're going to keep going along with it at every step until it gets to the point of what? The micro C hit. And digital identities. That was crazy. I didn't get to watch all of this one.
Point, just like this one, at some point in the process, you will be pulled aside for additional biometric screening. That's what that $18 fee will cover. It doesn't guarantee, by the way, if you go through that screening and you pay that fee, that you're going to make it through a checkpoint.
So they make you pay, and then you may not still make it through your checkpoint.
Like this. But if you do, that screening and the fee are valid for 10 days. So if you fly in that window, you would be.
And I don't know why I got clipped off there. But he says, you just heard him. It's only going to be valid for 10 days. So then you have to come back to another flight, pay another $18 to go through the whole process. And maybe this time you don't get through. So now you missed your flight or you get backed up or whatever the case may be. All right. So Esau is just tightly, or not really tightly with this particular situation, but he's just slowly putting that constant squeeze, all right, on everybody. Okay. To basically get them to move into his system every step of the way until they just give in to the ultimate thing, which is the C hit. All right. So yeah, those are just those two clips there that I wanted to play. I don't know why this one was cut off, but it's all good. So yeah, I'm gonna just end it there. All right. So Lord will you edify. Shalom.